What's up, guys? This is Sean, and welcome to another episode of the iherng podcast. And today I want to talk about strategies of furnishing your house. I think we spend a lot of time on deciding what to buy or do all the research before buying, right? But that's only half of the equation. The other half of the equation is what to do with your property when you get the keys. And I've touched on this topic here and there, right? But today I thought I want to have a more wholesome perspective to furnishings. Before we begin, I think it's best that we explain what is furnishing first. Because most of the properties in Malaysia, right, it's kind of like buying a car without engine, which means when you buy a car, you will expect that you can just sit in and drive straight away, right? You can straight away operate. But a house in Malaysia is when you buy, it's actually bare empty. Only anything that is attached to the property, which means like tiles, floor, wall, windows, doors, and that's it. So indirectly, it's not inhabitable, it's not livable, and that's when furnishing comes in. Then in the rental market, there's actually definitions to furnishing, where you can see like bare unit, semi-furnished, fully furnished, and lately this trend of designer furnish came about. And the problem is there's no proper definition to what degree are these. So you can just say whatever furnishing, right? Then it is one. But generally, it's about degrees of furnishing. So the first bare minimal is when I have a kitchen cabinet. So at least you must have a kitchen cabinet where I can actually cook water, I can wash plate. Then you have the fan, lights. Some even don't give curtain, and this will demand the lowest rental. So a lot of people try to stand out a little bit. They even provide water heater, aircon, curtains for the windows, and wardrobes. Then some provide bed frame, and some without mattress, and some with mattress. Then fully furnished is you can start to see that it's a full set of sofa in the living room with dining tables and chairs. Then in the room, you have a dressing table, wardrobe, and bed. And then designer furnish is when you have like a ID setting. So it's really very impressive when you walk in. So the main reason why we are doing all this furnishing, right, is to increase higher rent or to rent out faster. Two only. So in terms of investment, my capital should be as low as possible, yet demanding the highest possible rent as possible. So that makes a viable investment. But conventionally, if you guys have done any ID works or renovation work for your house, right, we used to only have contractors and ID designers. There's nothing in between. And these are different roles. So you will need to know what to do and how to do it and to actually do it. If we engage a project manager and a designer together, so they will manage everything for you, but the fees will be very, very high. They'll come back to you with design proposals, timeline, budget, and things like that. But whatever budget, they get a cut from it. But some we choose to go directly into engaging contractors. For example, kitchen cabinets, right? I don't need a designer to design a kitchen cabinet. I can just get them in, and this involves some of the wet works. Wet works are things that involves concrete works, extension of house, right? You want to erect a new wall or you want to tear down something. So those are wet works, and those cost the most. And the problem with renovation is that there are no exact market price. Like tear down a wall 800. Then suddenly this contractor say 2005 because I don't know what is inside. That's a common reasoning. Because when I look into a wall, right, I don't know what is inside the wall actually. Again, there's also different rates for registered contractors and non-registered contractors. Some will just find some Indo nearby the neighborhood, right, and come and do. Some you will have formal submission to the local authorities before you start your work and things like that. So between contractors and designers and project managers, right, then come new companies such as the Makeover Guys. Because I work in the Makeover Guys, I truly know the evolution of things. And as we mentioned just now, right, you need to put out the least amount of money to achieve the highest amount of results. Indirectly, I need to use the least amount of money, right, to see the biggest transformation of my unit. And why is that? Similar to show units in sales galleries, they are designed to impress buyers at first sight. So you can actually kick in the emotional trigger and things like that. So the strategy to actually dress up your unit, right, is to capture that first impression of the tenant. So imagine yourself as a tenant, right? When you walk in, go into a house, right? That first impression makes a lot of sense. So the difference between a empty unit or a semi-furnished unit, right, versus a fully designer unit. If everything is on the same price, of course you will get the fully furnished or the designer unit, right? And I see many comments in the videos, right, saying that how do you justify like 30,000 to dress up your unit to just increase the rental rates of 400? So this is the reasoning part. First of all, renovation used to cost way more, which means, right, it's either the extension of terrace house on my master bedroom and my kitchen back door, and it used to cost like 80, 100,000. And if you want to engage ID designers, it's even worse. So it's around easily 100 to 200,000. So the show units that we see in sales galleries, right, the condo may cost 600,000 per unit, but they will spend up to 2 to 300,000 just to do up the ID when you have like very luxurious feel. The materials are all customized, maybe 800 for a pillow. Yes, 800 for a designer pillow to be in the show unit itself. So you can imagine yourself touching the texture, living with your family, then you sign a booking form. But now you have, besides Makeover Guys, right, there are still a lot of other companies that is providing this kind of services, which is like a new trend. So apartments, right, you can't do any structural works. So the only thing you can do is actually to dress up the unit to stand out from your competitors. And for first timers, 30,000 may sound ludicrous to you, may sound too much just to furnish a house, and it wouldn't make sense in terms of ROI. Might as well I rent out empty, right, and I save the 30,000 in my bank rather than actually putting out 30,000 and get the unit rented out. So let's drill down more about this lah. Just because I've done like 3 makeover already and I truly understand the mechanism behind, and plus I work inside, right, the tabulation should be as such. If you were to do it yourself, which generally the case because like when I started my first unit, so I got no money, so I engaged my own plumber, the electrical man, the kitchen cabinet guy, the painter, maintenance guy. I manage everything. So it's around 12,000. Some I Taobao lah, some I Lazada lah, some I buy from IKEA lah. And this would be very good if you have design sense and you like the DIY process lah. But if you don't, like, it's going to be a very, very dreadful experience. So the comparison now is actually 12,000 plus your time plus your design sense is less than or equal to designer furnish companies of 30,000. Because commonly now these companies, right, actually provide furnishing services in 30 working days. So they will use the fastest time possible to bring in the biggest impact to your unit within the budget. So if you can do it faster than that, then okay lah. So a common phrase in the comment is actually like 30,000 I divide by the extra rental I get. My rental maybe before making over, right, is actually 2,000. So after I do furnishing is maybe 500 ringgit. Then how do you justify that 500 ringgit? 30,000 divided by 500? You will need 60 months just to break even. That's 5 years, bro. And then 5 years later, right, you need to do maintenance all over again. Then when only can I get back my money? In my opinion, right? In my opinion, I've done both, one myself and one with the Makeover Guys. The right comparison should be 30,000 minus 12,000, which is the bare minimum of the unit to be livable. Again, means like the aircon, the fan, the light, the curtains, the water heater, the washing machine, the dining set, and etc. And I doubt it will be 12,000, but just for discussion's sake, right? So you're actually paying 18,000 for the extra 500 ringgit. And there's a few possibilities to this. If you do it yourself and if you are a fabulous designer and you are like born to do interiors, right, then congratulations that you save your money. Another one would be if you have all the time to take leaves in receiving deliveries, especially for condos and this time of very sensitive health issues, right? You cannot deliver at certain times. You will need to come and receive yourself. You will need pre-approval. There are a lot of restrictions to all this. So unless you're actually working from home, then you can receive the packages quite easily. If not, it's going to be very, very difficult. Another one would be you staying very close to your investment unit. So you can actually just travel over and take stuff or do stuff. I can only imagine like me and my Johor unit, gone case. So indirectly, that extra amount of money, which is like 18,000 or 15,000 or 10,000, it depends lah, right? But generally that difference, what are we paying for, is actually for the time and the design sense that I don't have. Like I expressed this many times, the most important thing in life to me, the ultimate currency, is actually time. And if I can pay somebody for more time, I would definitely do it. Time plus design sense is the ultimate difference, because many first time buyers, mostly they are young. So what's going to happen is they will have a lot of time and energy. But if you reach my age, right, they are actually limited resources. So we need to place them very strategically. Use this window to do consultation or to really like make actionable steps to your property. So you won't like after you get your keys, only you start doing homework. You should do homework now on which company you want to engage. Not necessarily Makeover Guys, you want to go other when you go lah. But of course, because I'm part of the team, so consider us lah. Since the consultation is free, might as well use it, right? So this is speaking from an investor point of view as well. I just want to check out like the rental rates of my area and what do I do. And in conclusion, the whole purpose of furnishing is to actually rent out the unit at the higher rental rate or to rent out in a shorter duration. So this applies to new condos or existing condos. Then what you can do after you VP is you can actually do it yourself, or you want to engage designers or contractors yourself, or you can engage these kind of new companies where they can actually furnish everything for you. It all depends on the amount of budget you have. But ultimately follow the rule of using the lowest amount of investment to get the highest rental returns. That should be the guideline. Do not put in too much individual preference into an investment unit. You will have your own set of standards of what a home should be, right? But it's not going to help increase the rental returns, then don't do it. For example, like plaster ceiling lah, marble kitchen top lah, all this kind of thing, very good for your own house, but it wouldn't make sense for an investment unit. Then if you're doing for your own house, sky is the limit, your budget is the limit, hence there's no right, no wrong. Have fun with that lah. And how do we calculate? Again, we are generally paying for the time and design sense that we don't have, and the extra 400. Oh yeah, I missed this one. The extra 400 or 500 a month, right? Many people would think that it's a waste of time and waste of effort, but that 500 ringgit actually, because I will always speak to these customers who furnish up their units, right? Why would you want to go? How you calculate that extra 500 ringgit? Indirectly means 100,000 increase in your capital appreciation. Because if you were to take a 100,000 loan in a duration of 30 years, right? Every month you will need to pay now is at 400 ringgit lah. And if you were to reverse calculate that, now instead of 1,002, your rental rate is 1,006. The value of the property indirectly increased 100,000. Because if I were to tell you, hey man, would you like to consider this property? The ROI is 5%. Would you buy it? Yes, right? So with that extra 400 to 500 ringgit, right, your property suddenly makes sense in terms of rental returns. And in the channel, we talked about like certain properties' value are determined by the rental rates. And that seems to be the secret that all these investors don't want to tell people lah. So like, why would you spend 30,000, right, to furnish your house? Because you are already making 100,000 behind. And I think that's all for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. And again, do consider speaking to the consultants because it's free, and find out more about the latest promotion that they are doing right now lah. And with that, thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.